Why does the Vatican want to be like Disney and the Pope like Mickey Mouse? A question many of us might ask, why does the Vatican want to be like Disney and the Pope like Mickey Mouse? Why do modernists desperately try to create their own cult, and all they get is isolation from their followers or customers? Why are Disney and the Vatican so obsessed with inclusion? Why don't Disney and the Vatican care about damaging their reputations? Why this inclusion and obsession with homosexuality, division and scandals, regardless of the destruction they leave behind? We have reached a time where reality has surpassed fiction in a schizophrenic and deceptive way. The Vatican's fanaticism, and especially Pope Francis's, in his race towards a progressive heaven where wokeness is the new supreme dogma, and in his race towards the abyss of holy inclusion, has made today's Vatican more like Disney, and Bergoglio like Mickey Mouse. The difference is, Disney is losing money with Snow White in this race, and the Vatican is losing souls in the dark abyss of hell because of its inclusive stubbornness. It seems the Vatican wants to be more and more like Disney, and the Pope like Mickey Mouse, but not to make movies, but to create its own Vatican Rainbow Disneyland. Both sides don't care about anything other than fulfilling their dreams in their rainbow fantasy world. On one hand, Disney is turning every character from its children's fairy tales into homosexuals, distorting history and forcing the world to accept its sick and strange way of seeing its fantasies. But the Vatican and the Pope are no less. The Pope surrounds himself with figures and appoints a priest as cardinal solely because of his deviant preferences and actions, and they want to catechize us with the new preaching of their LGBT theology. Excuse me, I want to say butterfly, and that in the voice of his new preacher in the Vatican House, Father Brother Pasolini, one might think that our Lord, according to Pasolini, probably had sex with all the apostles with his friend Lazarus and Mary Magdalene. That is, according to the strange figure that the Pope placed there, our Lord Jesus Christ came to make a sex party out of his gospel, and this abomination is announced from the heights of the Vatican, which, with the voice of its new preacher in the Vatican House, claims that all of this, according to him, is justifiable and normal if one thinks about it. This is the new Vatican Disney fantasy that the Pope introduces with his new preacher in the Vatican House. They, in their sick and pathological desire which horrifies Catholics, have become a wickedly sick sect, which only God knows how to heal, and which, like Disney, is like a swingers club for families, and seems to suffer from hypersexuality or sex addiction. The Vatican, precisely because it is the Church of Saints, of celibate men, successors of Christ, and not these pathetic figures who shamelessly and embarrassingly express their uncontrolled fantasies, impulses and sexual behaviors, which deserve psychological or psychiatric treatment. They want to convince us that the whole creation is a rainbow butterfly and therefore normal, when in reality it is just a desperate attempt to break out of the Vatican walls. Both Disney and the Vatican, in a normal world, should uphold family values and traditions, which are the foundation of a society that promotes true respect and tolerance. But the Pope acts as if the Church were his own, forgetting that the Catholic Church is the exclusive property of the King of Kings, our Lord Jesus Christ. Disney is a company founded with values inspired by Christian culture, and today, we are in an unprecedented and absurd situation, like in an apocalyptic movie. Who would have thought a few years ago that a company like Disney would become a nightmare for many families, and the Pope, from St. Peter's Basilica, would turn our beloved Catholic Church into hell? These institutions have made decisions that have distanced them from their initial foundations to adapt to the demands of the present time, especially regarding the inclusion of the LGBT community. It's only a matter of time until God sorts everything out, even though the Pope is toying with God's patience because, like Judas, he has lost his faith or never had it. Disney, in turn, has prevented parents from watching its movies and visiting its parks, because they feel betrayed by these policies, which has caused a dramatic drop in attendance and a reduction in its loyal customers. However, after this obvious mistake, Disney began to repair the damage, indicating that it is the parents' duty to educate their children about inclusion, and committing to no longer promote ideological agendas that could damage its relationship with parents. The Vatican, on the other hand, under the leadership of Pope Francis, has taken a similar stance on inclusion, but instead of backing down in the face of criticism, it has remained on its progressive path, which is facing strong resistance within the ranks of its own faithful. The Church has implemented policies that are more open to the LGBT community, affirming and promoting bishops and priests involved in pedophilia and moral scandals, but at the expense of the traditions that shaped the Catholic faith. The loss of vocations, the increase in scandals involving sexual abuse, and the decline in the number of faithful are just some of the consequences of this amoral and ideological approach. Instead of correcting his mistakes, Pope Francis continues to promote inclusion policies, and many wonder to what extent this obsession to please certain social groups is damaging the fundamental values of the Church. The main difference between these two institutions lies in their reaction to the crisis. While Disney has shown efforts to correct itself and respond to criticism from its traditional audience, the Vatican, on the contrary, seems to be sticking to its path and shows no signs of correction or redress. This has caused a great division within the Church, and some predict a schism in the Catholic Church. The result of all this is a new, synodal Church that comes with arrogance and disrespect for the perennial Catholic Church. Modernism has won, but only in their own eyes, because in their attempt to create a modern Church, they only see themselves and only care about their own agenda. Ultimately, both Disney and the Vatican face a dilemma: continue with the inclusion programs that have alienated their traditional audiences, or change course and regain what has been lost. If Pope Francis does not abandon his inclusive policies, the Catholic Church could fall into a deeper crisis, which could lead to a schism. On the other hand, Disney, although affected by its decisions, seems to be learning from its mistakes, which allows it to regain some of the trust of parents and its traditional audience. However, the future of the Church seems more complicated. The Church is not a company, and as long as this Pope tries to be more like Mickey Mouse than like Peter, his attitude is destroying the Church. His depraved and immoral path leads many to confusion and indifference. It seems that the Pope's reputation no longer appeals to anyone, starting with himself. Inclusion has become a dogma that not even his imminent death can shake. On this path, as in Disney, the desire to please everyone ends in loneliness. You can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Abraham Lincoln. The Vatican and Disney, the road to the abyss of inclusion. To be continued. And that was Wanda's Bell Tower. Give this video a thumbs up and share it. See you later, God's warriors, and God bless you.